you do. It's about who owns you. And don't make the mistake of picturing this spirit only in bars or back alleys. It lives in pews, too. It thrives in fear-driven religion, where people spend decades trying to earn God's love but never feel enough. It loves to keep Christians bowing under shame, long after Jesus already set them free. That's the ultimate tragedy, living like a prisoner when the prison door is already standing wide open. And I wonder, has that voice whispered to you, you'll never change? This is just who you are. That's not you talking. That's the spirit of bondage. And it's lying to you. Because Luke 4:18 says Jesus came to proclaim liberty to the captives, to set at liberty those who are oppressed. Not just the big sinners. Anyone who's stuck under chains of fear, guilt, or sin. So let me ask, what chains are you carrying that don't belong to you anymore? Addiction, unforgiveness, self-hatred. You don't have to drag them into another day. Galatians 5:1 declares, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery." Bondage is real, but so is deliverance. And the moment you cry out, "Father, help me," the spirit of adoption steps in. Because you were never meant to live like a slave. You were meant to live like a son. Spirit of fear. There's a reason 2 Timothy 1:7 doesn't just say, "Don't be afraid." It says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Fear isn't just a feeling. The Bible calls it a spirit. That means when fear grips you, the kind that keeps you awake at night, that shuts your mouth when you want to pray, that tells you you're never enough. It's not just nerves. It's a supernatural enemy whispering lies. And here's the twisted thing. Fear often feels safer than faith. Fear says, stay right here. Don't risk it. Don't step out. Comfort is survival. But the spirit of fear isn't protecting you. It's paralyzing you. It robs you of opportunities, relationships, and even the calling God himself placed on your life. Look at Israel in Numbers 13. God promised them the land, but fear of giants kept them wandering in circles for 40 years. Fear stole a whole generation's destiny, and it still works the same way today. Maybe not with giants and swords, but with doctors' reports, financial pressures, family conflict. Fear says God won't show up for you this time, and too many people believe it. But listen to 1 John 4:18. Perfect love casts out fear. Not logic, not courage, love. Because at its root, fear is a lie that you're alone, that you're abandoned, that you're vulnerable. But when you know you are loved by the God who rules the universe, fear loses its grip. So let me press in. What has fear been keeping you from praying out loud, reconciling with that family member you thought was lost to you? Starting the ministry God put in your heart years ago, you've been waiting to feel brave. But bravery isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward in the power of God's Spirit, even when your knees are shaking. The spirit of fear is real, but it is not final. Psalm 27 verse 1 declares, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Don't let this spirit trick you into wasting another year in the wilderness. Step out. Speak up. Walk forward. Because fear is a liar, and God has already given you his spirit of courage. Spirit of heaviness. Isaiah 61:3 says God gives the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Not just sadness, not just a bad day. A spirit, a dark weight that sits on your soul, crushing you with despair, depression, and hopelessness. And here's the part we don't usually talk about. This spirit doesn't always scream. Most of the time, it just lingers. Like a fog you can't explain. You wake up already tired. You lose interest in things you used to love. Your prayers feel like they hit the ceiling. That's not just a mood, that's spiritual warfare. The spirit of heaviness is a thief. It steals joy. It steals energy. It whispers, why bother? Nothing will ever change. Some of you know that voice well. Psalm 42:11 captures it perfectly. Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you in turmoil within me? That's the cry of heaviness at work. And notice, this spirit doesn't just attack unbelievers. It goes after pastors, parents, intercessors, anyone with influence. Because if it can silence your joy, it can dim your witness. Let's be honest. Who wants the God of life when his people look lifeless? That's the strategy. Weigh you down until you stop shining. But here's the hope. God doesn't leave us defenseless. Isaiah says he gives us a garment of praise in exchange. Why praise? Because heaviness thrives in silence, but it suffocates in worship. Psalm 22 verse 3 says, God inhabits the praises of his people, and when his presence fills the room, heaviness has to go. So let me ask you, are you carrying invisible weights, maybe grief, maybe regret, maybe years of disappointment piled up until your heart just went numb? You don't have to deny it, but you don't have to live chained to it either. When you choose to lift your voice, even through tears, even if all you can say is, Lord, I trust you, you're not faking it, you're fighting back. You're trading heaviness for joy. Psalm 30:11 says, You have turned my mourning into dancing. You have loosed my sackcloth and clothed me with gladness. That's not poetic fluff. That's a promise. The spirit of heaviness may have settled over you for years, but it doesn't own you. God is offering an exchange. Your despair for his hope. Your silence for his song. And the moment you praise, the weight begins to break. Spirit of infirmity. Luke 13:11 paints a haunting picture. And behold, there was a woman who had a spirit of infirmity 18 years, and was bent over and could not raise herself up 18 years. Think about that. Nearly 2 decades of walking bent, unable to look people in the eye, carrying an invisible chain. And notice what Scripture calls it. Not just sickness, not just bad health. A spirit of infirmity. That changes everything. Because it means some afflictions aren't just medical, they're spiritual. Not all sickness comes from demons, but Jesus showed us clearly sometimes what doctors can't name, he casts out. And the cruelty of his spirit is chilling. Its goal isn't just pain, it's despair. It loves chronic suffering, the kind that wears someone down until hope feels impossible. Maybe you've seen it. A family member battling the same illness year after year. A friend so drained by weakness, nobody can explain. Or maybe it's been you. Always tired, always hurting, always wondering why healing never comes, and the whisper comes, this is your fate. God has forgotten you, and people believe it. But in Luke 13, Jesus does the unthinkable. Verse 12 says, When Jesus saw her, he called her to him and said, Woman, you are loosed from your infirmity. And immediately she straightened up. 18 years of suffering, gone in a moment. That's the authority of Christ. The spirit of infirmity bowed the instant he spoke. It didn't matter how long it had tormented her. It didn't matter how hopeless she felt. One word from Jesus, and the years of bondage had no power left. And here's the truth, he hasn't changed. Hebrews 13:8 says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. The same authority that set that woman free is alive right now. So let me talk to you directly. If you've been battling sickness, weakness, or pain that never seems to lift, don't let the enemy convince you God doesn't see. He does. And his heart is not indifferent. What the spirit of infirmity tries to bind, Jesus came to loose. Psalm 103 verse 3 says, God forgives all your iniquities and heals all your diseases. Not some, all. The spirit of infirmity is real. But so is the great physician, and what no doctor can fix, he can restore. Spirit of jealousy. Proverbs 6:34 says, For jealousy is a husband's fury. Therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. That's not just about anger. It's exposing the destructive power of a spirit of jealousy. And here's the thing. Jealousy isn't just wanting what someone else has. It's darker than that. It breeds suspicion. It twists love into paranoia. It takes comparison and grows it into rage. Jealousy doesn't just say, I want what they have. It says, I don't want them to have it at all. Look back at Cain and Abel in Genesis 4. God accepted Abel's offering, not Cain's. Instead of repenting, Cain let jealousy fester. Verse 8 says, Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. The very first murder in human history, and jealousy pulled the trigger, and it hasn't stopped since. How many marriages have collapsed because jealousy poisoned trust? How many families split apart because one sibling was favored over another? How many churches fractured because leaders envied each other's influence? James 3:16 lays it out. Where jealousy and selfish ambition exist, there will be disorder and every vile practice. Did you catch that? Every vile practice. That's how toxic the spirit is. And here's the sinister part. Jealousy often pretends to be love. A husband says, I'm only controlling you because I love you. A friend says, I'm only criticizing because I care. But at its root, it's fear of being left behind. It's a spirit whispering, if they rise, you fall. Be honest. Have you felt it? That knot in your stomach when someone else gets the promotion, the breakthrough, the answer to prayer you've been waiting for? That voice saying, why them and not me? That's not just insecurity. That's the spirit of jealousy hooking your heart. But here's the good news. God's love dismantles it. Jealousy feeds on scarcity, the lie that God only has enough blessing for a few. But Psalm 84:11 says, "No